Welcome to episode 10 of the Trail Currents podcast. I'm Jamil Coury.
I'm Jubilee Paige.
This is the show that takes a deep dive into topics making waves in the running world. This week, we are talking about stepping up in race distance.
Cool.
And I guess this is really all because I am stepping up in race distance this week. And I haven't done that since, I have not done that since 2007.
Are you making a big step or a little baby step?
It's a bit of a big step. I guess Barkley was kind of a step.
Yeah.
Not really. It was in time, not technically distance.
Yeah.
But the long and short of it is I'm stepping up to the 200-mile distance.
Whoa. I feel like I should have like a buzzer or like a whoa. No, that's still not working for me.
So before we jump into that, we want to do a quick read off the top of our heads for our this week's sponsor of the podcast. And this week's sponsor is
AeroViper's own Flagstaff Sky Peaks. This is our brand new race for 2018. New courses for the Flagstaff Sky Peaks up in Flagstaff, Arizona. Features some of the most spectacular running up in northern Arizona with a climb that goes up to 11,500 feet at the Arizona Snow Bowl Ski Resort, and explores a mix of single track along the AZT under canopies of color-changing aspen and other varied mountain terrain.
That sounds amazing.
The 50-mile actually circumnavigates the entire San Francisco peaks up there, which is going to be bananas because it's the first week of October, and that's when all the leaves change. So, I mean, come on, man.
It sounds awesome. And this is it's a brand new race, but it has some roots. Mm-hmm. We've been putting on a mountain ultra in Flagstaff since 2012. It's a bunch of years. And this event was formerly the Flagstaff Endurance Runs, which became the Flagstaff Sky Race. And now it's the Flagstaff Sky Peaks.
Yeah.
So no longer part of the Sky Series, but it really gave us an opportunity to take a reflection and look at our courses and what we were doing up there, and
kind of some of our favorite bits of running up there, and
come up with a new concept. And it's going to still be an evolving concept. We actually want to add a longer distance next year that will make it a really premier distance. Speaking of stepping up in distance, and it's going to be an odd new distance for us. It's probably going to be 120 kilometers, which is extremely exciting. So it's kind of a great way to bridge the gap between 100K and 100 mile next year, maybe 125K. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to come up with, but it will be a kind of like a single loop, non-repeating course that will be extremely epic. But we were just happy to get this race off the ground this year after some permitting delays. But we've already got almost 40 people signed up in like a 3-day time span.
In a couple of days,
And I'm pretty sure we're probably going to get close to 200 people.
I would love to see it,
We're really gunning for it. So,
and we've got not only the 50 mile, but definitely some other distances for, all abilities. So we're featuring the 50 mile definitely is that amazing premier distance. But we also have a 50K, a 25K, a 10K, and a 5K, all kind of giving you an amazing tour of the kind of autumn fall colors within the northern Arizona region.
They're all staged out of the Arizona Snow Bowl Ski Resort.
So you're starting at like 9,200 feet.
Right. And we have some cool names for each of the races. I want to share them because it's super fun.
Are you excited?
I'm definitely stoked. So we wanted to inject a little character into each distance. So we've got the Ring the Sky 50 mile. That's the one that goes around the whole peaks. We've got the Aspen Dream 50K, which is along the Arizona Trail through giant swaths of aspen groves. We've got the Quad Bomber 25K, which has, I think, it's like a 4,000 foot descent in the middle of the race. It's pretty epic. You go up to 11.5 right at the beginning, and then You go down to,
You
I think,
bomb down.
7,500 feet.
Yeah, you do.
Just a direct drop. The other races...
Down like all the way on the AZT too.
Yeah. So the other races kind of go off northbound. So I think it's a little more gradual. This one's just straight
This goes
down.
all the way down.
And then the 10K is the Agassiz Grinder. And the 5K is the Humphrey Hump. That's probably my favorite one.
The Humphrey Hump, just because you like to say it.
It's funny. So anyways, do we have a discount code for our listeners?
If you enter FSP15, it's 15% off any distance you choose for the next 2 weeks? 1 week. 1 week. 2 weeks? I can't remember.
1 to 2 weeks. Just check it out. If it doesn't work and you guys are loyal listeners, email us, contact us.
I'll figure it out.
We'll make sure you get in.
I'll make sure the date is right.
We're pumped. We really want to host a big crowd up there this year. Really kick this new format off, and we're looking forward to it. I'm just so happy it's taking place. I was getting really scared there for a while. What's going to happen? But it's all going to work out.
FSP15.
Thank you guys for that. And let's move in now. We should touch base real quick on last week's show, the ultra gender gap. I think this was probably our most decisive topic so far. I mean, we got 12 thumbs down on our YouTube video. I mean, that just cuts you right into the heart. I don't know. But definitely some interesting comments. I think we got the most comments we've probably gotten. Some people definitely a little fired up, I think, about the topic in general, which is always interesting. Some people, saying things like they believe that we should give women equal opportunity but not expect equal outcomes. Some people saying, yeah, why does it matter who wants to run an ultra? It's kind of open. And I kind of agree with that. I mean, I think for in the most part, it is pretty open, an open sport. But I think for us, we were just discussing, it's still kind of disheartening to see a race where there's only 12% women.
Yeah.
It's like, it'd be nice to see more women participate.
I mean,
I think. If they don't want to, if that's one thing.
I mean, I just want more ladies out there. I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? And, but I mean, just the visibility of women and kind of like an equal shakeout, like for like the exposure, I guess.
Did we talk about, had that come out yet, about the Hood to Coast?
Hood to Coast. No, that came out right after we had finished filming and recording this.
Yeah. I think that's really the kind of thing that highlights.
That was exactly kind of what we're talking about. Yeah.
So if you didn't catch that story, the first place women's team at the Hood to Coast Relay, which is, I think, the country's largest relay running race.
Yeah.
They got 12th overall. They ran something like 6:30 pace average for 199 miles. And they had the awards ceremony and did not recognize the women's team. And they went up to the race founder who was there helping out. And it's like, hey, like we first in the women's division, just curious if we're going to get an award, and basically made a comment, go tell someone who cares. And it's like totally uncalled for.
Yeah.
Like, could have said anything else other than that, like, and
that, I mean, that was precisely kind of what we were talking about recognizing, kind of those equal efforts, because I mean, that's pretty phenomenal that these women were pretty much busting it out and came in 12th overall. And there are thousands of teams out there, like thousands of runners.
Well, I think they were quick to recognize the men and some of these other corporate teams, top corporate teams. They have all these divisions, but I don't know what the oversight or issue was, but the fallout was pretty swift and severe on social media.
Oh, those women took to Twitter pretty quick.
And they, the founder was actually ousted, which is pretty much the only move you can do, and it's the right move to oust the guy. So I think his daughter's now in charge of that, which is kind of ironic, but yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Thank you guys.
We got a lot of good feedback, a lot of, I mean, kind of divisive feedback, really, and it was really interesting to hear you guys kind of call out a little bit. So, thank you guys for kind of tuning in and
The other thing, I saw a bit of a call to arms on social media about the UTMB coverage, which it's hard because I wasn't able to tune in for all 30 hours of the UTMB coverage. I caught quite a bit of it, a few hours probably here and there.
I mean, you were glued for the first few hours. Definitely.
I was definitely glued for the first few. I was definitely glued for kind of the decisive stuff in the night. And it did feature a lot of the men's race.
Yeah.
I will have to say, I think number one, I don't know that they were specifically not covering the women. I think it's obviously hard to get both. You got to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt for that one. I think just the level of coverage, I haven't seen it this good any other year. I think this year was a big step up. I know they did some coverage last year, which was cool, but this year seemed like it was on a different level. They had helicopters and bikes and all kinds of things, and it was pretty unbelievable. I think people were getting upset at the commentators because they weren't covering the women's race as much, but they could only work with the footage they were given. So I don't know you can blame them. Also, I know filming races myself, you do have to decide a lot of times. You've been out there covering events. You have to decide sometimes what to cover, or you have to have a whole second team for the women.
Well, that's the thing. Like if you're going to, kind of allocate resources for coverage, that's the whole, like, there's going to be people who are just as interested in like the women's field and wanting to be able to follow that just as much as the men's field. So,
And I know that once the men came through Champex-Lac, they did switch to the women's field. They went back to it for quite a while. But again, I don't know. I wasn't tuning in the whole time. So I don't know. And I don't know if the people that are upset did as well. But
I mean, maybe it's just kind of like a growing year, building year. But at the same time, I definitely want to see kind of resources allocated to both. Like, I'd like to follow the women out there for sure.
Yeah, and I know they I don't believe they specifically excluded them. I just think sometimes it's, challenging to get both, but definitely something to aim for next year. It's just cool to see them doing that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I mean, it is level up like that. It was pretty impressive.
It was pretty crazy this year. And it's interesting because I know it's amazing for us to watch the races unfold, but for the runners themselves, imagine being filmed like the entire race. Like there's a guy running next to you the entire time you're out trying to run 100 miles.
Or biking next to you, or there's helicopter just hovering.
Yeah, I don't know that I would like that.
Well,
that doesn't seem great.
Drones are pretty controversial anyway, like having drone kind of follow a runner along the trail. Imagine, it's the freaking helicopter, man.
Yeah, it's pretty
Good
nuts.
Lord.
Okay, well, let's move on to this week's topic, stepping up in distance.
You're doing it. You're going to go do it.
I think our most listened to episode was talking about running your first 100 miler.
Yeah.
Which was the episode talking about you, which you still have not done yet.
Which I did not do.
But you will, I'm sure.
Stay tuned.
We'll get more into that.
That's kind of a to be continued.
But this is kind of a part 2 of that one, talking about what it's like to step up. This will be interesting for me because I haven't stepped up in distance in a while.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that in like 2 days time. It's Tuesday. I start running it Friday.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably less time to the start right now than I'll be running total.
And you have like 3.5 days to do it, right? It's 100 hour.
Over 4 days.
4 days.
100 hours.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I think I don't want to do it in 4 days for me personally. I think it's great that they give you that much time.
Yeah.
That's about like 50 miles a day average.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is like a through hike.
So yeah,
I'm going to try and go faster.
Kind of a fast pack.
I never know. Like this is the unknown, and I'm probably going to implode. Who knows? But
well, tell me a little bit about like how you've prepared for this. What was the mindset from like, you've done several hundreds within your career. What made you decide that you wanted to do a 200 mile?
I think, maybe it's become a bit routine. I still love the 100-mile distance.
Yeah.
and I don't know if I'm going to love the 200-mile distance or not. So I kind of want to get a taste of it, see what it's all about. I would like to do some longer stuff in the future. Arizona Trail, I really want to do that someday. So this is kind of a good test for that.
You through hiked that or
I through hiked it back in 2008. And then one year, I think it was 2011, I tried to do a 300-mile section of the Arizona Trail, like self-supported in one go. And I made it 70 miles, and then I got picked up. So basically quit. I bailed. Just wasn't mentally ready. I think I was also coming off a 100-mile race a few weeks prior, so it just wasn't a good choice.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it is an interesting mentality. I think several months ago, I was psyching myself up to be very competitive at this race, and I was kind of putting some pressure on myself. I was going to train up real hard, and of course life got in the way.
Yeah.
So I've had to really let that go. And because for me, it seems like currently the people running 200 milers, it's not super competitive yet.
I mean, it's relatively new.
It's pretty new.
This distance, right?
It's pretty new and new to the U.S. So there's not a lot of people that have done it, period.
Yeah.
And I think competitively, it's been pretty low levels of competitiveness. No offense to anyone that's done the races, but you don't see the big names coming out quite yet. Courtney DeWalter is, she came out and demolished.
She kind of made a name for herself at the Moab 240.
Yeah.
But I mean, even like the field size at these races are relatively small in comparison to kind of some of the bigger ultras.
Tahoe, which is the one that I'm doing starting Friday, is the biggest one. There's 250 entrants.
Yeah.
So we'll see how many start. There might be 200 and some change starters for the race. So we'll see what that looks like. But I just think that someday we'll see people going sub 48 at 200 miles on trails.
Yeah.
Currently, the records are like 59, 60 hours. So I think there's a lot of improvement to be made.
Yeah.
Kind of mark my word. I was hoping to maybe be that person. But this year, I just had to, who knows what'll happen. But I mean, I've been really busy, and I know that's not a great excuse, but I've like 3 out of the past 4 weeks, I think I've had 0 weeks. It's pretty awful.
I mean, I think you started out pretty strong and pretty inspired. In your training.
Yeah, I'll pull up my Strava here actually real quick, because I had like 2 or 3 100-mile weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Then I had a little bit of a down week, and then it was like a few 70+ mile weeks in a row with a lot of climbing. It was going well, and so I had like some 100-mile weeks. Then there was like some 75-mile weeks. Then I had like a 9-mile week, a 45, and then back to a 0. I had a 60-mile week, and then it's been 12, 0, and 0. Like I haven't run in 2 weeks as of right. Like not taken a running step in 2 weeks before the race.
And you're gonna start a 200-mile journey.
I would never recommend that. It's not good.
Yeah.
That's not how I would prepare. I mean, a side note, like I just opened up a restaurant here in Phoenix on top of everything else I got going on. It's a little crazy having a kid, traveling. We've got races and all kinds of stuff with Aravaipa. It's pretty crazy. So not ideal, but maybe it'll turn out to be good with the right mentality. So I'm just shifting my mindset. I'm going for a long hike, and I'm going to walk every uphill. I'm going to probably walk or fast hike every flat, and I'm going to jog easy every downhill. Yeah. That's literally my mentality for the first, until I maybe pick up a pacer, like day and a half, 36 hours. That is what I'm going to do. Hopefully I'm going to stay awake and continue to move the first 36 hours. And if I do that, I think I can still get fairly far.
Yeah.
While saving myself and just using my years of experience. I think that's the best thing I can do as someone who's been around the sport a long time. I ran my first ultra. Oh shoot, I just had my anniversary. My anniversary is tomorrow.
Perfect timing.
September 5th.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. So 2005, I ran my first. So it's like 13 years ago.
Awesome.
So I'm like going into my 14th year running ultras. That's crazy.
And you're celebrating with 200 miles.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of miles. I've done a lot of things.
Yeah.
If anything, I'm going to be fresh, but I'm also probably going to have to work through some things with my body going after this. I don't know.
Do you think it's a little bit easier kind of like stepping up into such a daunting like distance because of your resume, because of your history and experience?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it that much.
Yeah.
Good or bad. It's just I haven't packed yet. I've read the race manual like I was supposed to, but I have it printed out over here. But I think I still have to get my GPX track into my phone. But yeah, I have a crew. I'm gonna have a pacer. Skylar's coming out at some point. I think he just texted me 5 p.m. on Saturday, so that'll be 32 hours into the race.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, 32 hours into the race. So. Yeah, I don't know how far I can get in that amount of time. Hopefully well over 100 miles by then.
Yeah.
Just kind of power hiking through it. We'll just see. Yeah, but on paper, it sounds like the 48-hour barrier should be broken. But I also have never done this. And I'm definitely not, that's not on my mind anymore.
I mean, it does seem like, you kind of, like the pace overall, like an average pace would like, slow, like the higher distance you go and the longer time that you have on course, over 100 hours. Yeah,
I think the important thing is not going too fast too early.
Yeah.
Because I've heard of guys that go out, they run like a 20-hour 100 for the first 100.
And they blow up?
And they blow up and end up running the next 100 in 50 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is just crazy disproportionate. Yeah. So, I mean, if you can minimize your sleep time and keep moving, I think that you have a good shot at a good time. And, I mean, I want to finish it as soon as possible. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's going to be beautiful, but I want to see what I can do for sure. But
you don't want to stay up on your feet moving constantly for 4 days?
Yeah. I don't want to like sleep 6 hours every night. I want to see what I'm capable of, and that's kind of the point of doing this.
Sure.
I've run hundreds where I've felt like crap. I've run hundreds where I felt great and it was easy.
Yeah.
This is going to be a mixed one. I had some great training earlier in the summer.
You did.
And I'm going to feel that at some point. At some point, I'm going to feel those miles. It might be 120 miles in, and I'll just be able to cruise along. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
So.
What advice would you have for people who are looking to step up? Not necessarily from like 100 to 200. Maybe we can talk about that when you come back and have experienced that 200-mile distance. But for anybody, for like who's looking to step up, from like their half marathon to their first ultra, or from the 50-mile maybe to that coveted like 100-mile ultra.
Well, it's not something that you necessarily prepare for physically in training, right? Because if you run a 100-mile race, most people are not doing a 100-mile training run or even an 80-mile training run. Usually people will do a 50-mile race maybe a month out.
Sure.
Pretty typical, or 100K. So it's really a lot of mental. I think mental is the biggest part of this, more than physical. Like you're going to be in discomfort and in pain for a long time, and you'll just be in that place, and it'll probably oscillate a little bit. It'll get worse and better, but yeah, it's just going to be managing your calories, your sleep, your mood, your pacing, kind of staying. I think it's going to be hard to stay within yourself because You're so excited. You want to just run off the line. I'm probably going to let half the field go at the beginning of the race. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm like middle of the pack coming into the first climb.
You're going to start really slow and just kind of...
Yeah. I think I'm going to I think I have to. I think that's the only way that I'm going to be able to be good later in the race. If I had the training that I was hoping for, maybe I'd be able to start out stronger, but I still think it's like, would you rather walk a few miles at the beginning of the race, walk the first climb when you have a choice to early on versus be forced to walk the last 2/3 of the race because you can't run any longer?
Yeah.
If you burn yourself out in the beginning, there's no hope of recovery. But I think if you pace yourself early, you could run later. I could run the last 50 miles, could run all the descents in the last 100 miles of the race, run the descent strong, and then hike the uphill strong. I would rather do that. And I think I would have a better time at the end of the day.
Kind of overall experience, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd rather feel good than feel awful. So yeah, advice for stepping up.
Yeah.
I think it's a big mental game, definitely.
How do you prepare for something like that? Like if you've never, me, for example, if I've never kind of had that headspace of, a 50 mile to the 100 mile, that extra distance where it's like, physically, like, I don't know, like there's maybe a doubt or something like that. And I go into a dark place. Like, how do I prepare mentally to get myself up and out of that?
I think you have to, I don't know if you can experience this just in your own life and you draw from that, but if you can think of experiences in your life where you've had a low moment emotionally or even physically, because it can be emotional low moments too. Those can sometimes be worse than your physical low moments, because you can quit mentally and take yourself out of the game when physically you had a lot left.
Yeah.
But temporarily you were down, you were hungry, you were grumpy, you were sad or defeated. So pulling from an inspiration within yourself, that a time in your life when you picked yourself back up and got after it or overcame a barrier, and to know that it doesn't always keep getting worse. Like, it's a thing that's said often, I feel like, for ultras, but it's true. It's like life exists on a curve is like the best. I love hearing that. I've heard that many times where, there's like the ups and downs, and a lot of times if you imagine a curve with a steep downhill from a high point, when it's at that steep pitch, you fall off quick and you think that you are just going to keep going forever until you're dead. But at some point, like it starts to shallow out when you're hitting that lowest point. And then but it does take a while to kind of gain the momentum to get out of that, whether that's taking a short break or stretching it out or taking in some calories and some food and some caffeine or something to pull yourself out. But then it can also get better quickly as well. So just kind of understanding that there's going to be natural ups and downs in a race of that distance, because it's just so long and so much time and so many variables, but that you can push and get through it. That's what I've experienced.
Are you going to draw on any of your personal experience that you've maybe had at Barkley, considering it's maybe some of the longest hours that you've spent out on course?
Man, that's tough to think about. I think so. Part of it too, I think I'm going to have a good playlist of music on my phone as well. I think maybe through the night, especially, I'm going to use some
You're
music.
You're going to use music. You don't normally use music out on the course. I mean, since
I'll have to see how that's going to work. I think I have some wireless earbuds that I just got.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I think the headphone jack on my phone doesn't work anymore.
I mean, since I've known you though, like anytime that you've done a race, you don't really lean on music out on course.
No, not very often. I used to here and there, but yeah, I think for something this long, I think it'd be a nice thing to have.
Do you have a go-to song?
I mean, I listen to a lot of EDM music.
Yeah.
Like Marshmello.
Little Marshmello. It's good.
or Skrillex or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, Diplo or something.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just having a good beat and something that can like pump me up.
It's just maybe that pace that kind of.
And it's funny too because I think I only have like a couple of artists. I think those couple artists downloaded on my phone through Spotify.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm out course marking for long hours, 8, 9, 10, and 12 hours by myself, which actually it is funny. Like time does, once you get out there and get going, time kind of does fly by.
Yeah.
It's kind of really, and that's maybe what this will be. It'll be like you're in a time warp for 2 days or 3 days, but the time can really get going on you. But I listen to like a lot of the same music, and it's funny because I'll listen to some songs and it literally will bring me back to like middle of the night course marking on the Mogollon course up on top of the rim on the cabin loops, just listening to like these certain songs, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah. So
maybe I'll draw from that a bit too. And hey, I won't have to carry like huge amounts of flags.
I think you're going to miss it. I think
And,
you're going to miss those flags.
And even looking back on like the Arizona Trail, I think drawing upon that, it's like day after day of just relentless forward progress. You can't wrap your mind around this concept of going. It's hard. I can't even do it for 100 miles. 50, I can kind of get it. 100 is hard to wrap your mind around, and 200 is just impossible. So you really have to break it up.
Yeah.
It's not like you can even think like, oh, only 30 more miles or only 3 more hours, because that is not, you have 20 miles in between aid stations here.
Right.
You can't even really break it up by aid station, because it could be a 4 or 5 hour run just to get to your next aid,
right,
which is crazy. So yeah, I think it's just kind of like enjoying the moment that you're in is what you have to do, because it's not ending soon. The finish line is not near when you're going these long distances. And it's crazy because, it's a big step up. It's 100 to 200. It's doubling already what is conceived as the gold standard of the sport. And it's just I think it's a different mentality. I don't quite know what to expect. I'm going into the unknown, literally. I don't know. I haven't done anything quite like this. I've done, the day after day where it's you sleep each night and it's kind of a reset. But this, I want to try not to reset. Like I want to go as long as I can and just see what happens. Yeah. And try and push through. Yeah. Like if I can push through that first night and see if I can go through the next day, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I'm going to have to sleep at some point. I just don't know when or where that'll be. Yeah.
Are you excited? I mean, is this like an exciting premise at all? No?
No. I just feel I feel stressed about everything else that's going on in my life. Yeah. I feel like this is, I feel unprepared. And
how would you prepare differently? Like if you could kind of, have that perfect timeline and kind of training block, how would you prepare differently? Like what would the last 2 weeks that you've currently missed look like?
I could pull up my training document that
Did you create one? You did create one.
Yeah, I gotta try and find it. I'm not sure where it went. Basically, I was hoping to put in a lot more volume ahead of race day.
Like miles or climb?
Miles for this race, because it doesn't have a ton of climbing.
Like just like time on feet, basically?
They climb. Well, that's the interesting thing, actually. No, miles. Like just miles.
Okay.
Like I was wanting to do 100-mile weeks. Okay. Like a bunch of them. Yeah. Be consistent, in and out every week, 100-mile weeks, and then a big practice run of 80 to 100 miles, 5 to 6 weeks out. I was gonna run a 100-mile race, but I just couldn't justify the cost and the time to go do it. In hindsight, it would have probably been good to do. It would have been good to also put in the training, but that's okay. Like I said, I've adjusted my goals. I was talking a big game earlier in the year to some other guys, and it's just kind of it is what it is at this point. I don't know. But time on feet is interesting because, and just being awake, like opening this restaurant, I've been on my feet, I'm on my feet all day.
Yeah.
I'm walking around, I'm standing, I'm, doing physical things. It's not like I'm not being active or engaging my mind. I'm staying up till we're open till 2 a.m. We got to close down. I'm up till 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And then like trying to go right into the next day. So definitely exhausted, which that's going to be a hard part of this is I'm not extremely well rested going into it. I didn't become a monk and go off caffeine for 2 months before race day or go off alcohol or anything. But so I'm literally rolling with this. I think I'm almost living a 200-mile lifestyle anyways. Really? Like it's just day after day, you grind it out, you crash, you get back up, you keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's 11:50 right now. I've probably got 4 hours of work to do.
Right.
11:50 p.m. I've got 4 or 5 hours of work to do to roll into tomorrow, and then I head out. So I think, hopefully I can get some sleep Thursday night. Maybe I get 12 hours before I head out, and then just have to go into it and utilize a lot of caffeine. I've got a bunch of run gum coming.
There you go. It's good beer, isn't it?
We still got time. 37 minutes. Yeah, so that's kind of the mentality. I think ideally going into a race like this, I would have wanted more consistent training. I would have wanted a lot more rest going into it. Just consistency and rest would be nice. But just is what it is.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's 239 people registered for the race. So I'm most scared of Courtney for sure.
Is she going to get you?
I just don't see how I have any shot. If I can be anywhere near her, I don't know what pace she's going to start out at. It would be super cool to just chill and run with her.
Yeah.
But if she's pushing it at all, like I just can't do it. So I don't know what her strategy is for these longer races.
I mean, it's got to be the sweet tarts, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a lot of candies, right?
I was gonna say you gotta get that candy.
Yeah,
maybe a candy necklace, right?
Nice. But it should be an interesting time. It's definitely. What else you got for me?
I don't know.
Trying to think of other things, other tips, other tricks for stepping up. I think just other things in general when approaching longer races is like familiarity with the course, understanding it, like, hey, look at the course map. I've made mistakes going into new races just in general of not really doing that research, and I'm in danger of not doing it for this race right now because I was looking at the course map today actually, and I noticed that there are quite a few out and backs to aid stations. So that's good to know because when you get to that all important junction,
you don't want to blow by it.
And I've done that in races, and it cost me the win at a race one time. Yeah, because the course is going to be marked straight through that turn.
Was it at Angeles Crest? Yeah?
It was at San Diego 100.
Oh, San Diego.
Yeah, there was an aid station literally a quarter mile off the trail. And I got to the junction, and there was just an orange flag right past the turn. And there's nothing that denoted go right.
Yeah.
And I just went straight through. I ran 3 miles down trail until I caught up with the guy ahead of me. And I was like, hey, where's the Todd's Cabin aid station? He's like, oh, it was like way back there. So I turned around, went back, checked into the aid station. I lost over an hour, and I missed the win by 5 minutes at the end of the day. So not good. And I do not want to add a single meter extra of running to a 205-mile race. It's not even 200 miles. It's 205.5. So I don't know how they couldn't figure out how to cut 5 miles.
5.5.
I'm pretty sure I saw an area at the beginning of the race that you could easily cut 5 miles off this course.
Yeah.
So Candace, if you're out there listening, what gives? Like, why do we have to do 205? I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure you can
Moab is 240. talking about
that's a whole. I'm not doing that one, so it's a whole different conversation. But I'm pretty sure that it was well within the possibility to make this 200 flat, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be all for that when I'm at mile 195, thinking,
yeah,
I could be done in 5, but I'm not going to be done until 10, and that's going to be great. It's just have to disassociate the mind with the body for a little bit longer, I guess. But oh well. I mean, it is what it is. It's the course, and I'll be out there.
What's your cap?
Bonus.
Like, where's your step up, like, shelf, basically? Where's that end?
What's the step up shelf?
Like, you've done all the other distances, and you've done 100, and then stepping up to...
If I did a 200, you're saying?
Yeah, like, is there a 500 in your...
The Arizona Trail.
Sure.
That'd be 800.
That would be 800.
And
I'm just saying, like, what's your limit of
800? The Arizona Trail is my
AZT.
limit. I don't want to do the Appalachian. I don't want to run the Appalachian Trail. I don't want to run the Pacific Crest Trail. I want to run the Arizona Trail. Definitely. There's no hesitation when I say that, right?
There is no.
Except when I say right, you're like, huh?
What?
Yeah, I definitely would like to do that. So, but I mean, really, I do think this will be a great training for Barkley.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still the goal. So I think this will take as much time as a Barkley 5-loop finish would take. Pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah. At least 60 hours.
Currently,
right?
the course record is 59 hours, I think,
there
for this race. So, I mean, yeah, I can hope and dream, but who knows? Like, I could be under 59. I could be 72. I could be Ultra Sign Up has me as 83.11. That's what they're predicting for me, with my amazing 72% ranking.
Whoa.
When they're predicting the winner is going to do 64.57. Ryan Wagner from North Dakota. I don't even know a lot of these guys running. I feel like it's a different
It's kind of
crowd.
a completely different crowd, yeah. You don't see the same like names out there for all of the 100-mile, that familiarity.
Yeah, like
it's just maybe a completely different beast, because there are people who repeat and do multiple 200s for the year.
Yeah, like this guy who's at the top of the list, he's doing the Triple Crown thing. He got 4th at Bigfoot in 65 hours. I mean, we could pull up, actually, it'd be interesting to pull up the top times for the Tahoe. And I guess we're running in reverse this year. That's the thing.
It's the 5-year anniversary celebration of, magic. It turns around every 5 years. I don't actually know if that's true.
Yeah, I guess that's to be seen. But I mean, for instance, there's been three people in the history of the race to break 60 hours. So I'm looking at, in all likelihood, 2.5 days minimum here for this event. The top 10 times like 64 hours. So break the top 10 all time, 64 hours. Pretty crazy. It's definitely a long time to be out there. And it's an interesting list because I don't know a lot of these guys on this list. I recognize, Sean Nakamura last year.
Yeah.
And then Victor Ballesteros, he ran it in 2014. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Curious the women's time. Susanna Bond in 67 hours. I mean, that's pretty much...
Is this Courtney's first go at the Tahoe?
Yeah. So pretty much guaranteed that we're going to see a women's course record. She will likely break the men. I would not be surprised if she breaks the men's record...
58 hours?
Outright by a margin. Wouldn't be surprised. Based upon her Tahoe time, which I think was...
Moab
time, which I think was 59 hours for 240 miles.
Right.
Meaning, like, if you subtract that 40 miles out or the 35 extra, she's probably going to do like low 50 hours here.
Yeah.
Like, you would kind of expect that. I don't know if any of the guys can do that, which is super cool.
That's totally rad.
I think when you're stepping up in distance from just along the way, maybe we can talk about that a little bit, because this is supposed to be more than just about my Tahoe experience. You start out with like a 5K or a 1 mile. It's like, okay, you're just sprinting, and then you're pacing yourself a little bit.
Do you ever remember like when like a 5K seemed impossible?
Never impossible, but
no, but I mean, like, you know,
I don't know
like
if I ever viewed it that way.
No, because that was my experience.
Tell me about your experience. I want to hear it. What's your experience stepping up?
Because I mean, previously I wasn't a runner. You know, I wasn't. I did different kind of athletics. You know, I like tennis and volleyball, and but never really, especially not long distance running. I wouldn't had thought that I could do anything beyond a mile that was required in like physical education or something like that. But it was just a really interesting, like the premise of doing 3 miles straight in a row was just like, oh my God, running's impossible. And I think I still, you know, it wasn't that long ago that I started running. So, I mean, like I can still remember when that like 5K or 10K, and then like, you know, the half marathon was just like, oh, I'm going to do this epic distance of 13.1 was a big deal to me. And, you know, few years later, oh, look at me.
Oh,
no.
Going after the ultras.
Sure.
I think as you step up, you have to kind of add these new elements and layers that didn't exist at the lower levels.
Yeah.
Or like the shorter distances. I mean, yes, the physical and the mental aspect, but you step up to a half marathon from a 10K.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you need to start worrying about calories.
Yeah.
And even more important in a marathon. And then you step up to a trail, 50K or something. And I mean, not only is it maybe more technical than a road, but you're out there, even though it's only maybe 5 more. A lot of people step up from a marathon to a 50K. Like I kind of jumped across that barrier, but I know I jumped from the marathon to the 50 mile, but regardless, maybe it's only 5 more miles, but time wise, it's going to be a lot more.
You got a lot more on your legs.
3 more hours because it's slower terrain usually.
Yeah.
So you're having to kind of consume even more food.
Right.
Once you get into 100 mile, you're starting to deal with sleep deprivation because you're having to go through the entire night. With a 200, it's even more extreme because you're doing 2 full nights, no matter what. Like no one's getting through there without 2 entire full nights. And then like if you're lucky, you'll finish before the 3rd starts. But some people are like the 3rd night and then the 4th night. Like that becomes a pretty wild cycle. And so all of a sudden sleep management and planning becomes a key component of the 200 mile.
I mean, it's you know, something that we don't necessarily see at most races. You know, the 200 miles, I mean, we just read through kind of the runner's manual. They have sleep stations. In addition to the aid stations, there are actual like places and stations set up where you can sleep up to 5 hours.
Right. Yeah. And then they kick you out.
And
you have to, you got to bring your own sleeping bag too. You have to like plan to have a sleeping bag in your drop bags.
You're planning a slumber party like out in the middle of the forest somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So that's interesting. And I don't know. I'm not a good example. I'm not preparing well for this, and I don't know how that's going to pan out, but I'm just going to kind of like send it, kind of like just step up to the line, throw some stuff in my pack, and just go and hope for the best.
I mean, I think you do have kind of that, the benefit of experience in your back pocket there. So, I mean, I think that'll do you well. I mean, you have a plan.
My mentality, I think my mentality's all right. It's very much my hard rock from last year mentality, right. Knowing, hey, I'm not super prepared for this, so I'm going to respect the distance. I got a little carried away, like at mile 70.
Yeah.
racing my brother into Telluride that I paid the price for in a pretty severe way, but I just need to really not do that this time.
Yeah.
He's not running, so
I was
think
gonna
I'm
say
safe.
Nick's not out there.
But I might want to run with Courtney, and I just can't let that happen. I just need to, if we end up near each other, cool. If not, just gotta do my thing. That worked out well for Xavier at UTMB this last week. So he ran his own race, and everyone else burned themselves out, and he was feeling great at the end. So it's cool. What else about stepping up? Anything you can think of?
I mean, I have yet to really.
Do you have more thoughts about stepping up again to
100?
50 mile is still the longest you've done?
No, 50K.
Oh,
35 mile.
Oh, 35 mile. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
You've attempted 50 miles.
Right.
The one time?
Yes.
At Old Pueblo?
Yep.
Okay. And the race you're doing coming up in October, you don't know the distance of that one?
I think that's going to be closer to like a 50K.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have a 50 mile targeted?
Not really. I mean, like everything about my year kind of like just didn't pan out.
Yeah.
And, I just kind of chalk it up to, I mean, there's just a lot of things that just happen and kind of get in the way. And then, just kind of plans fall through. And so, yeah, my running calendar just kind of went to pot, really, for 2018. But I kind of want to throw some, like, I've got a race in November. And then I think I want to make the McDowell Mountain Frenzy 50K, like, my annual, like, I'm going to go back for that race every year. Just because it's a nice, cool weather 50K. I like the Pemberton Trail. It's really fun. So
cool.
It's a good time. But yeah, I don't know, maybe not like pack my calendar with all of these things that I get really excited about and get amped up because I get inspired, and then just kind of race directing and everything that, I mean, I'm committed to like at least 16 races a year,
right?
But I'm not running them. So it's just like maybe I just need to pick one race and focus on that and figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah. I wasn't even sure I was going to go through with Tahoe, honestly.
Yeah.
As of about a week ago, I was really feeling like this may not be a good idea. Just kind of feeling unprepared with not running and everything I've got going on. I was thinking maybe it's just not the right time. But then I was kind of like, I just had a pep talk with myself. It was like the first of probably many pep talks to come in this journey towards a finish. And like, I don't know, I'll stand here right here and say like, I will finish this race. Like I'm confident I will finish. Even if it takes me 99 hours, like I will get this thing done. I will finish this race. So, but to get between here and there, that's a long journey that I don't fully know what to expect. And that was just like the first of probably many hurdles. But I told myself, this is, I think, an opportunity that I would regret not taking at the end of the day if I pulled the plug. And kind of, and just in this instance for me, I would just regret it. And if I'm not making time for stuff like this here and there, and I can't do a lot of races per year with everything we've got going on, 30 plus events, and I try to be at as many of them as I can be.
Right.
I maybe miss 2 to 3 per year. Granted, I don't have a full role at each one. Like sometimes I literally pop in to take photos for 3 hours and I leave.
Yeah.
But
you have a role at most of the races that we produce.
Yeah, pretty much every event.
Yep.
Some role, and physically be there for, as much of the races I can be. Definitely. But yeah, if I'm not getting at least a couple, and I haven't even run a 100-miler this year.
That's true. That you got really close there at Hard Rock over the summer.
I was like next in line. So, and that's kind of, I don't know how I feel about that right now, because there hasn't been a year since I've started ultra running, or since I started running hundreds. in 07 that I've
Miss-
run 100-miler every single year. And I don't know that I want this year to go by
without a 100.
without a 100-mile finish, meaning I have to look at the calendar.
We still have Javelin 100 coming up in October.
I will not run that race,
Oh, okay.
but it's because it's just too big and important.
I need you, actually.
Yeah, I can't. It's that event is so insane.
It's so big, and
it's an all hands on deck.
It really is.
I would have to put in for our lottery.
Yeah.
We now have an internal
employee lottery
for premier races. So I would have to. I would not take special credence for that one. I would enter the lottery like everyone else.
Yeah.
Especially that one. I did take dibs on Black Canyon before the lottery thing was announced.
Yeah.
So we'll see hopefully I can run that one. If not, I will.
I think you're already registered. You're already registered.
I registered before it opened, but
yeah.
But we'll see. I didn't really run it by anyone. Anyways.
You want to run it by me now?
Yeah. Can I run Black Canyon?
All right.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should run 100. I have to look at the calendar. I don't even know if there's time.
You've got a few months.
But yeah, an officially sanctioned 100 every year. I don't know, because I don't think a 200-miler counts. That's different distance.
Oh, it's a whole nother.
Like I should have done Grand Mesa probably. Yeah. That was on my list, but it was too insane. It was all too insane. So step 1, Tahoe, and then I'm doing 100K in China in October.
I saw that on the calendar. That looks totally rad.
And that's actually a Western States qualifier. So that's how I'm getting my Western States qualifier.
Right.
It's pretty funny. But
cool.
I'm going to have to look at the calendar and see if I can dip into like a December 100.
Yeah.
That's probably when I would have to do it.
Nice.
Like third week in December 15th or something, whatever that is. I don't even know what's available. I mean, Chimera or something. That's in November.
You wouldn't want to run like a multi-day, like across the years type of thing. Technically, you could get 100 miles within.
To me, that's not a 100-mile race.
No.
That's a 24-hour race.
It's a timed race.
It's a fixed time. It doesn't count, in my opinion. From the way you can count it. I don't count it. Like my first 100-mile race
was a fixed time race, was it not?
Was Angeles Crest 100.
Oh, okay.
I did run 100 miles in 24 hours across the years prior to that. But to me, that it's just different.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's just the way you classify things. Like if you want to count that as a 100-miler for yourself, go ahead and do it. But to me, that was a 24-hour race where I happened to get 100 miles. I'm weird.
I think it's I think it's a 100-miler.
Okay,
like, personally, but I mean,
I would prefer to not do it at a fixed time race.
Yeah,
I would prefer to do it at a 100-miler race. Anyways,
okay,
I don't know. This is just where we're at. We're going down this road for some reason.
Oh no.
There's guys doing insane stuff in the sport right now, though. There's this guy Walter. Have you heard of him? Walter Hanlover, I think.
Okay, I was gonna say.
He's running. You're like, who? Who are you talking about?
Walter.
He's
Walter.
He's of course doing Tahoe. He's like pretty new to the sport.
Yeah.
But he is doing everything. Walter Hanlozer. He's from St. Louis Obispo. He's 36 years old. He's trying to do like 50 100-mile races next year. He ran his first 50K in 2015. And he's just going balls to the wall right now.
Dig it.
I'm just going down this road right now. His calendar, what's that?
Yeah, go ahead.
His calendar, he's signed up for on Ultra Sign Up right now, is like he's doing Tahoe 200, then Baldy 100-miler, Saddleback Marathon, Moab 240, Javelin 100, Franklin's 200K, Lone Star 100, which is 3 days after the 200K, Jackpot. He's trying to basically next year. He's trying to do 100 every weekend, or more than one weekend apparently.
Yeah.
Like if you do a 200K and then you do a 100-miler, I just don't know how that's like physically possible.
I mean, maybe we should talk to him about stepping up to distance, because within 3 years he's just kind of. You're right.
He's just cranking it, Holy crap. And he's pretty good too. I mean, he got 3rd at Ouray and 9th at Bigfoot and 12th at High Lonesome. He's a pretty strong runner, and he's just cranking them out. He's cranking out those 100. He actually hasn't done that many hundreds. It's interesting to see that mentality where it's like, okay, I've done, I don't know, he's maybe done like 8 to 10 100 milers over the last couple of years, 2 years. Ran his first 100 at Run Rabbit in 2016. It's like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna do 50 of these. Every weekend I'm gonna do this. Like that's wow. That's pretty wild.
Just to kind of keep that.
Because like
keep it going, keep that base.
I like do 1
right
or 2 per year, and I'm wrecked.
Yeah.
For a while. It's like I'm not running for a while. Like take a couple weeks off. And then my next ultra will be like 3 months later.
Yeah.
It's like call me in the morning. Call me in a month. Anyways, kudos to you, Walter.
Way to go, Walter. We'll see you at Javelina.
We'll see you soon. Yeah, tangents.
Oh no.
So, anything else?
I don't know.
Did you cover it pretty well?
Sure.
Let us know what you guys think about stepping up in distance.
I do have one question. So
Okay.
like there's kind of like this old school like where when you just said like I'm going to respect the distance, like that kind of just triggered like a kind of this old school mentality of like you take the steps, right? Or is it like you make whatever jump you want? So I ran a 5K last week. I'm pretty sure I'm ready for a 50 mile. Go. Like, would you advise like major jumps if you kind of feel like you're ready to do it? Or is it kind of that like, no, take your time, respect the distance, take those baby steps all the way up until,
I think it just depends.
Yeah.
I think on your desire level, maybe your age and experience sometimes. Like we talked about like kids running ultras. No, maybe not go right from a 10K to a 100 miler. Like maybe a couple more steps.
Sure.
But do I think that you need to go do a marathon, then a 50K, then a 60K, then a 50 mile, then a 100K, then a 120K, then a 100 mile? No. I think you can jump up. I think anyone that's done a half marathon could train up and do a 50K. I think anyone that's done a marathon can go do a 50 miler. Maybe do at least one of those before you try 100.
Sure.
I think would just be setting yourself up for success because you'll learn things that you didn't know. And like we said too, as you build up, you encounter these new obstacles like having to eat, having to carry stuff and have a pack, having to run at night and have to carry a headlamp and a flashlight, having to run through the night and deal with sleep deprivation. All these things that add up.
Yeah.
That you can get a taste of it as you go up in distance. But I don't think there has to be a formula. But respecting the distance, I think, is a little different of a concept where, even if you jump up, still respect the distance, meaning, don't go balls to the wall like a marathon pace in your first 100 miler. Probably not going to turn out well. Ease into it, respect it, and it'll have a lot to teach you along the way. And if you want to learn the lessons the hardest way possible, then sure, go out really fast. But that's it.
Cool.
So let us know what you guys think. We'd love to hear from you about stepping up. And we can maybe even touch base and pull up comments next show.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the show, and we'll answer your questions on there. I think it'd be really fun.
I kind of like that little interaction a little bit.
Do you have fears about stepping up in distance, or are you just excited? What do you guys have planned out? Are you considering a 200? If those of you that have run 100 miles, would you do a 200? And we can also talk about my experience next week as well.
Kind of want to revisit that. Yeah.
So, anything else?
Have fun out there, man.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm already like, we'll talk about it next week. It's like, it's going to be over by then. Holy crap. This is scary. It's coming down to the wire.
Stop and take a photo. It's a really blue lake out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be pretty. I did see there was like a plane crash in the area that started a fire. So hopefully that doesn't impact the event. That would be unfortunate.
I mean, I would hope that, race management would kind of be in the know with those kind of things.
Yeah, I
if
saw
it impacted
I think it just happened today. Max Romy, who's a videographer with Solomon, he's going to be out there for the race, probably filming Courtney. He was like posting a story where there was like smoke in the sky. I was like,
Goodness.
Crap. I think it's been pretty nice and clear near Tahoe. The rest of California has been like a disaster. So I really don't want to have to run through smoke or have the race threatened by fire. So anyways, thank you guys for tuning in to the Trail Currents podcast, episode 10. And once again, we want to thank the Flagstaff Sky Peaks for sponsoring this race. And be sure to check it out and use that discount code
FSP15
on Ultra Sign Up. Hopefully we'll see you October 6th in Flagstaff. And once the race is over, come and join us for a beer at Mother Road or something.
Totes.
So have a great week, everyone, and we will talk to you in the next episode.
See you next time.